All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Yellow Card episode 66.
Jesus.
Okay, yeah.
I wasn't saying because you said SO. You forgot the P.
SO. Hey, yo, SO. Anyways, as I said, welcome to the Yellow Card podcast episode 66, presented to you by the Couch Guy Sports Network and sponsored by our folks over at Shocked Energy and Exogun. Episode 66 starts now. Got a lot to talk about. Got some transfer window action already happening, which we'll see a lot of this actually happen for the next month or so. A lot of moving pieces for teams that are looking to save their season from relegation, looking to improve their season, going for silverware at the end of the season, and some that just need repairs altogether. Got some FA Cup action as well. So with that said, let's get the show going. So host Diego Galvez here, my buddy Chris Jones. Let's start talking about the FA Cup because we had some action happening yesterday in the third round. We had well over 12 matches that went on, and we got some more action happening today as we record. But let's talk about some of these scorelines because one of the major ones that surprised a lot of people will be talked about just shortly. So in the third round, Premier League teams like Man City, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Leicester, Watford, Brentford, and Everton, as well as Chelsea, Southampton, and Wolves, West Ham, Leeds United, Tottenham, Liverpool, Manchester United, Villa, and Arsenal are in this third round. Yesterday, a few of these teams played, a few scorelines that were very good. Some, like I said, very, very, very shocking. So, Chris, let's get your takes on some of this. Some of these matches without talking about the major headline that went on yesterday. Let's get you going.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, for starters, we looking at this slate, you and I had kind of a rough idea on what we would expect. But for starters, I mean, I think the big one we'll get into in a little bit, but Swansea and Southampton was a hell of a game from start to finish. If you looked at it, it was Southampton was up 1-0, and then they got a red card in, I believe it was like the 30th minute. And then in the second half, Swansea ties it, send it extra time. An own goal from Southampton put Swansea up 2-1. And literally a minute later, Southampton scored, and then Southampton scored in like the 102nd minute to win 3-2 with only having 10 men as well. So that was a big one for that. Other than that, I mean, the Premier League teams did what they needed to do that played yesterday. We had, City beat Swindon Town 4-1. No, Fulham's not in there anymore. Who else was it? Brighton won 2-1 against West Brom. Leicester won 4-1 against Watford. Brentford won 4-1 against Port Vale. And we had, Everton. Everton beat Hull City 3-2. Chelsea won against Chesterfield 5-1. And we had a penalty shootout between QPR and Rotherham, with QPR moving on after winning in shootouts 8-7. Just the game is the slate as a whole has been very, very good to see. We saw Crystal Palace, Millwall play a very, very tough game, but I think the big one that both of us are going to discuss actually happened in. Well, there's two games you should be talking about. One, you should be talking about Huddersfield upsetting Burnley at Burnley, which is a tough place to play no matter what time of year it is. So that's the first one.
Yep.
The second one, I think, has to be Cambridge United beat Newcastle at Newcastle.
Yes,
that
sir.
has to be the big one.
Yes, sir. So we'll talk about it in just a few minutes here. I agree with majority of what you just said. I really like that Leicester City versus Watford game as well. I think Leicester finally showed their true colors as well. They've had a very rough season. Um, chemistry kind of fell off and all that stuff. Just going through some changes. It happens to a lot of teams. So for them to pick up a really important win here, 4-1 score in the FA Cup, that just tells you the grit that this team has and that they're building. Another one that was surprising to me as well was Coventry versus Derby County. I thought for sure Derby was going to win that game. They have a strong team. I'm surprised at the outcome. It was a 1-0 score, but it is what it is. Crystal Palace and Millwall actually was a really decent game. Millwall kind of showing a lot of what they're working on and improving it inside their organization, while Crystal Palace kind of making sure that they're walking a very thin line of carefulness and whatnot, especially with the main roster being exposed, because the last thing they want is for a COVID outbreak in their team, as they continue to be active and look out for interesting players that they can pick up during the January transfer window, which we'll also talk about. Another one that was actually really, really interesting too was that Everton versus Hull City game, and the 3-2, kind of a back and forth game. If you really look at it, Demarai Gray, Andre Gomes, and Andrews Townsend scoring for Everton. But frankly, Hull City was the one that kind of got the action going for them, with Tyler Smith scoring in the first minute on Everton. And from there, it was just a flurry of back and forth action the whole entire game. I mean, went on to 99 minutes or so. So, but as Chris mentioned, the main surprise last night of the action was that Cambridge United versus Newcastle game. Newcastle rolling out with their brand new signing, which they also picked up in the January transfer window, looking a little different in a 4-3-3 formation with Dubravka, Kieran Trippier, which is who they picked up in the January transfer window, Kraft, Shar, Ritchie, Shelby, Jolinton, Longstaff, Fraser, St. Maximin, and Murphy in the front three, and he still managed to lose 1-0 against a Cambridge United that lined up in a 4-2-3-1 formation, kind of just trying to defend as much as they can, especially with the attack that Newcastle had to present. What do you think went wrong here, Chris?
For Newcastle, I mean, they just didn't capitalize on their opportunities. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you look at the stats, you would sit there and say to yourself, how was there not a 4-1 victory for Newcastle? They had 23 shots in total. 9 of them were on target. They held 58% of the possession all game. But I think the big thing is for them is that they just didn't capitalize. You have 12 corners compared to Cambridge United's 1. You have to be able to capitalize, even if it's just to set up something. You know what I mean? They didn't even get the chance to set up anything the entire way. I'm hoping that with the addition of Trippier, it starts a little trend for Newcastle to go up, because if Newcastle stays where they are in the table and they have two world talents like Alan St. Maxime and Kieran Trippier just kind of bolstering around in the EFL Championship rather than the Premier League next year, it's not going to be a good sight for a Newcastle team that's looking to go up from where they were based off their new ownership group. So they're going to need to figure some stuff out soon and figure out how to get Kieran Trippier a little bit more involved.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think another thing that went kind of wrong for them was their discipline. Not a lot of fouls, obviously. fallen into the undisciplined game of Cambridge United, who had one more foul than them. But that definitely has something to do with the discipline of this team. They have plenty of shots on target. They just couldn't capitalize either, like you mentioned. Those 12 corners as well versus one. It's like, come on, how do you not synchronize a good attack to be able to at least put 2 in the net out of those 12 corners? They are rumored though for far more improvements, especially as they're now one of the richest clubs in the Premier League right now. So it is suspected that this team will look very, very different come the end of the January transfer window. So this might be a minor setback for
Major comeback
for Newcastle. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm kind of intrigued as to what the game plan is for what the game plan is for Eddie Howe, especially as he's coming in and kind of has transformed this team a little bit around, rolling in a new different formation, presenting a whole new different style of game for Newcastle. It just looks like the guy is like revived his career and just trying to do whatever it takes to save this team from relegation. So
yeah, I mean, I think their main focus should be you got to get a center back in there. They desperately need a new looking center back. Maybe go call Barcelona, get a guy like Semo Umtiti. Could be a good one for them. Just stuff like that, even to help the midfield as well. But their next 5 games, some of them are very winnable. They have Watford at home. They go to Leeds. They host Everton. They host Aston Villa, and then they go to West Ham. I don't see if this team is looking to make improvements. It needs to start with the first 3 stretch of games right there. Watford is a very beatable team. Leeds has not been the same Leeds team that we saw from a season ago, and the same with Everton since Rafa Benitez has taken over. So for Newcastle, those are the 3 big things you want to focus on. And also, you want to try and build off of your last performance in the Premier League, which was in 2021 against Manchester United when you drew with them at home.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, we got some FA Cup action happening today, which can't really give you much of an update on, other than Luton Town versus Harrogate Town. Luton winning 4-0. Currently, Wolves is ahead 1-0 of Sheffield, and Shrewsbury currently is beating Liverpool 1-0. I don't know who Shrewsbury is. I know Shrewsbury, Mass. I don't know Shrewsbury in England, but it's kind of interesting for Liverpool. But it's Liverpool.
Well, if you look at
Liverpool's, if they
Liverpool's,
turn it around,
if you look at Liverpool's lineup and people that are in the lineup for Liverpool, you would understand why it's like this. No Trent Alexander-Arnold. Keller is in net.
I gotta stop you right there, though. It's Liverpool. Come on, man. It's like
agree, man.
one of
Listen,
the most developed teams.
I agree. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting anything from what Shrewsbury is doing, but it's just looking at the front 3. Obviously, besides Curtis Jones, who is a usual first team player for us, you have, I believe that's Cade Gordon. He's only 17, getting his first action, and then Waltman, I believe, is another young guy anyway. So they're more so trying to develop these guys and get them to play in the first team. But I don't know. I don't know. It's the FA Cup. We're not really worried about it. We're more so worried about the Premier League and the Champions League. But it would be very embarrassing to lose to a team like Shrewsbury in the FA Cup in round 3.
Anything is possible these days, man. Anything is possible. But tomorrow's action holds Manchester United and Aston Villa for the FA Cup. And then later on today, it's Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. So we'll do our best to keep you updated on the FA Cup round for the for this 3rd round action. on our Twitter handle, which is @podcastcard. Make sure that you're following it and clicking the notifications so that you're updated the minute that we publish an update. With that said, let's transfer over to the transfer window topic of our episode today, which we got some action going on. Got some really nice action happening. Let's see. Some of the major news being talked about, like we mentioned earlier, Kieran Trippier signing with Newcastle. We also got a major reunion happening in Aston Villa as two, I guess you could say, legends in a way. Well, one of them is definitely a legend. The other one, maybe in a way, for Liverpool, which are Philippe Coutinho and Steve Gerrard reuniting at Villa. And then we have in the MLS, Toronto FC signing Lorenzo Insigne as their marquee sign-up of the year, and they're working as well on getting Richie Laria from Nottingham Forest to sign onto Toronto. So looks like Toronto's trying to build a massive team for the MLS and trying to come all together for it. So let's get talking about this transfer window. Chris, what are some takes you got?
I mean, we kind of discussed Jordan last week, but like Arsenal needs to move on from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Like that needs to happen. Yeah, we'll be waiting for a while. I think we'll probably wait up until like the last transfer window as well, or the last day of the transfer window. Excuse me. Alexander Lacazette from them is also another one that you need to keep an eye on. Still looking to see what the Manchester United front looks like. With guys like Donny Van de Beek wanting out, Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, Anthony Martial, just the usual names for that. I think another one I'm kind of looking at, Ousmane Dembele from Barcelona is another name. You know, we're looking to see where he moves, if he moves. Rafinha from Leeds is another one that's very much so well sought out. Even teams like Bayern Munich are very much so interested in bringing him on. The kid's only 24 years old, but he has a bright future ahead of him. But again, you know, it's the usual, like, is Erling Haaland leaving? Is he staying? Kylian Mbappe, what's his plans moving forward? You know, it's just it's the same thing over and over again.
It's like, so stagnant. It's really so stagnant, and I'm glad that you're bringing that up, because at this point, it just goes on and on and on and on to the point that you're like, Mbappe could just literally just retire from soccer and I still wouldn't care.
Jeez.
You know, like it's just mentioned almost every 20 minutes. It's like the guy hasn't even decided what he's going to have for breakfast that day, let alone decide where his new team is going to be. Like, let's stop with the rumors and let's actually have some actual news happening, you know? But speaking of that, just some updates real quick. Liverpool has managed to tie 1-1 to Shrewsbury so far, and West Ham is taking the lead on Leeds United 1-0 on the FA Cup. West Ham's Manuel Lanzini just scored, and for Liverpool, it was, give me 1 second here, it was Caden Gordon who just scored. We were just talking
about him.
Yep. But in the transfer window, so there's a couple of very potential moves that could be happening here. One of them is what I think it's a very interesting one, which is Lazio looking to borrow from Chelsea Kepa Arrizabalaga for the rest of the season. The only problem that they have is that the Spaniard currently earns about 170,000 euros a week, which is a huge salary problem for Lazio because of financial caps that they have to adhere to. So that's a move to keep an eye on. Another move to also keep an eye on is the fact that Arsenal are currently in the hunt for Aaron Ramsey to bring the Welshman back to the Emirates. That's a really good move considering that Ramsey currently plays for Juventus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
It looks like he just wants out. He's ready for a new scenery or whatever. And it looks like, he's just not part of the game plan that Allegri has for that team. Obviously the as Chris mentioned, the current rumors are mainly centered about, Haaland, where is he going, and Kylian Mbappe. But another juicy one that I think is very, very interesting is the fact that Jurgen Klopp is reportedly interested in a move for Real Madrid's winger Eden Hazard. I gotta ask you, as a Liverpool fan, because if this was United, I'd probably toss my phone to the opposite side of the world. How are you feeling about this?
It's my phone.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I get why, but it's just going to create more and more problems for this team. Like, if you're just going to bring in a guy like Eden Hazard, who's going to want to play as much as he does, that takes away playing time from Mane, that takes away playing time from Mo Salah, it's not going to work. So just don't even bother. If you want to bolster this team, you bolster in the midfield, or you get another young piece that you can have as a striker. That's it. All you're doing.
Yeah.
But I want to move on from it because I don't want to talk about it anymore. If we were talking about Felipe Coutinho, I'd be like, okay, bring him in on a loan. That's fine. You can play with this club and work with it. But Eden Hazard cannot.
No, and I mean, I agree with you, and I think he's just so out of form at this point that if he hasn't managed to get back into form with somebody as easy of a coach to work with like Carlo Ancelotti, that just tells you his value is really just not there anymore. Once he left the Premier League and decided to make that move to Spain, he's not even a player that you currently look at and you're like, oh, careful he's playing, You're just like, oh, it's Eden Hazard. That's it. But another.
What about this? Have you heard this rumor at all? That
What's
City and Barcelona are looking to do a swap deal?
No, I have not.
So Barcelona would get Emerick Laporte.
Okay.
And Man City would get Frankie de Jong.
See, I think that's actually a loss for Manchester City.
I wouldn't hate the move because I just think they're just trying to bolster that entire midfield. Don't get me wrong, but I just think if Frankie de Jong played in the Premier League, I just think he would get so much more recognition than he already does. And I think his value is a little bit lower than it should be because of the fact that Barcelona is going through what they're going through currently. But if he comes back and City can pull this off, give him 2 years with Man City, and I guarantee you he'd back up over 100 million worth of value.
Okay.
I'm trying to look at what other rumors I can see happening. We talked about Ashley Maitland-Niles. He moved on loan. You got Lucas Digne wanting out of Everton. Where does he go? Right now, it looks like Chelsea's in the running for that. Any chance he could go reunite with Carlo Ancelotti at Real Madrid? Like, what are we thinking there?
I mean, I think he should. I think it's actually a solid move for his career there to reunite with Carlo. So,
yeah. Newcastle for Titty. Barcelona very much so trying to get rid of his contract and his injury-plagued self. Hopefully, new scenery would do wonders for him. Everton looking to loan Ross Barkley from Chelsea, which would be an interesting one. There was one more that I saw, and I can't find it now. but I wanted to get your opinion on it. Give me 1 second so I can
Yeah, I mean,
look at.
while you look for that, another player to definitely keep an eye on because he's rumored to go in different directions. One of them staying in the Premier League, and the other one sending him to Spain, and that is Adama Treyori from Wolves. He's been heavily rumored to be leaving the club, with Bruno Lage obviously keeping him in the bench to just take good care of him in the case that he is transferred. I gotta be honest, man, that transfer would excite me so much because he is such a good player. Works his butt off. He's reliable. He's a force to be reckoned with on the field. Somebody that a lot of his teammates have nothing but high praises to say about him. So seeing him being able to move on to another team that could potentially contend for a trophy is actually very, very exciting. One of the teams that is rumored to want to go after him is Barcelona, which bringing him to Barcelona would be such a gigantic addition for them, considering that you can transform him into a right wing back, or you can keep him in his current position and will still benefit tremendously from it, and his physicality as well.
He's quick. He's very physical on the wing, which is something you don't see with the majority of these wings nowadays. So getting that on top of anything, if he's to leave Wolves, I think his value only increases. So when he gets his new club and he does very well and then wants to progress and maybe try a different avenue, his value is going up. His value is at an all-time low right now because Wolves just doesn't know how to use him properly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But looking at other rumors, looking outside of the Premier League as well, Kingsley Coleman is also a name that's been tossed around a bunch. And if Coleman is gone, Bayern Munich looks like they would prioritize a man like Ousmane Dembele to come in and replace him.
Yeah.
But Kingsley Coleman's a guy that I've seen with ties with United only because I could see them wanting to bolster that spot of the field. And Coleman would be just a great fit. I mean, he's so young, has so much to show and put everything out there. I'm just very close to seeing what is next for this young stud, because ever since he's had a bunch of injuries when he was like really, really young, and then he transitioned to where he is now with Bayern Munich as he scored that game-winning goal in the 2020 Champions League final against PSG. So just curious to see what looks come that way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And speaking of United too, I mean, so much going on with that team right now. A lot of changes happening, a lot of frustration happening as well. It's rumored that out of the current roster, there's up to about 11 players now that want to leave the team, as they don't see themselves as part of Rangnick's tactics and plans for the club, as well as they just don't align with what Rangnick wants to do. Some others just want to change the scenery altogether, just for once and for all. But there's also rumors of that once Rangnick's interim management career comes to an end, that Mauricio Pochettino will finally be at Old Trafford. Rangnick is a big fan of Pochettino, has recommended him before. Pochettino really has wanted to be at United for quite a while now. That's one of his dreams in his career, especially the connection that he has with Sir Alex Ferguson. If there's somebody that can bring, big talent onto United's roster, it would be somebody like him. So that's it. That's another rumor to keep an eye on. That story, I'm sure, will develop even more during the summer. Right now in the January transfer window, I don't see it happening because of the internship. But yeah.
There's one move that I could see potentially for that team. And then one move for my team as well. Both of them have to do with Leicester City. For your team, you're more of we need center defensive mids. Fred doesn't get the job done, and we can't rely on Scott McTominay or Montage for that much longer. So what I could see happen is from Leicester, a guy like Wilfred Ndidi becomes available. You bring him on, add him to your center defensive mid. Because if Leicester's looking to make a little shakeup, they're currently sitting in 10th in the Premier League. They're 8 points back of Tottenham for 6th, and then 9 points back of West Ham for 5th. So they might need a little shakeup. That might be a move that they make. For Liverpool, from that team, I mean, if you're going to throw money at a center mid, there's no center mid I'd rather throw money at right now than Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah.
Again, he's a nice young midfielder, very good. Every time he plays with the Belgian national team, I feel like he just gets better and better. So I just think for me, that would be, if you're going to splatter a bunch of money, that's what you should be splattering on.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I do think as well that for United, the rumor still pertains to Ruben Neves from Wolves to come on to United, which I wouldn't hate it. I'm all for it. Again, I just think this is starting to really depend on how fast and how quickly we actually react, and especially now that Ed Woodward is officially out of Manchester United at the end of the month, with Richard Arnold coming in as his replacement in the CEO position. So, other than that, what are some final takes you may have, Chris?
We were talking about Adama Treyori, and obviously if you were to go to a big club in Spain, it'd be even better. But I think he'd be even better if he even stuck in the Premier League and played for a team like Antonio Conte's Tottenham. To be honest with you, imagine having him on your wing with Harry Kane and then Son on the other side.
Yeah, no,
that would be a very formidable top 3 right there.
No, I really agree with you there. I think right now the concern for Tottenham though is Heung-min Son's latest injury pickup too. They need to keep an eye on that, especially as there's really not a replacement at all for Heung-min Son in the club. So
also one last thing, because I had a little bit of a debacle with this in my it's funny how I'm gonna compare the two together, but my FIFA career, I decided to become a manager of Everton.
Oh God.
But I sat there and I looked at myself, I go, they really need to make a move. So if you had to move one of their top 2 of Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison right now, which one would you move?
Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Why?
Because with Richarlison, you can still build pieces around him. With Dominic Calvert-Lewin, you're kind of risking a lot of creativity from you're not risking much. You're really just moving away your forward, which you can replace. With Richarlison is difficult because you don't have you really just don't have the bandwidth nor the capital to really replace somebody like Richarlison, bring in a big name that could be your next creative piece and attacker in that midfield for your club. So therefore, you kind of are invested in wanting to keep Richarlison one way or another, unless you have a talent that's developed out of the academy that you're keeping under your sleeve.
So I think my only thing is, I feel like I would get rid of Richarlison only because I feel like you can get more money for him than a guy like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And the way this team's trending, both of them are 24, 25 years old. They're hitting their peak. What's stopping you from selling Richarlison to one of these top teams in the league that wants to compete, and you get 60 to 70 million in it for him?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's how I look at it personally. So what I did with it is, I'll talk to you off camera about it, because I don't want to get Everton fans too excited, but I changed a little bit of it, and with it's worked out in my favor with it. But you just gotta kind of go with the punches there. And for Everton, I do think that sooner rather than later, one of those two is going to have to be moved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I definitely agree with that. It's just more of like, what are you really looking to replace at this point? Are you looking to replace your attack and be able to build something stronger? Or are you looking to basically altogether just kind of
make your team better?
Make a team better. Yeah. So, but other than that, that does it for episode 66. Make sure that you're following us on Twitter at Podcast Card, on Spotify, on the Yellow Card Podcast, the podcast section, on Anchor, on our YouTube channel at Couch Guy Sports. And last but not least, make sure you check out Couch Guy Sports. A lot of heavy content flowing on that website. And your support is more than we could ask for. Until next time, signing off, Diego Galvez, Chris Jones. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.